Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is David Hunt from DWS. We're an Oracle Gold partner specialized in JD Edwards EnterpriseOne. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar. I'm joined today by Patrick Neary, our Business Development Director, and Pat is here to answer any difficult questions you may like to raise in our Q&A at the end of today's session. Now, the world of JD Edwards EnterpriseOne is changing, and that will impact how you manage your E1 implementation. In today's webinar, I will give some of the background as to what is happening with E1 and why test automation is becoming increasingly important. I will share with you some real customer examples of the sort of value and returns on investment test automation can provide. I will then discuss some of the things that you need to think about if you're also to be able to realize real value from test automation. Finally, I will share with you an approach DWS has developed to help you prepare your own business case for E1 test automation. And we will have plenty of time at the end to take any questions that you may have. If you'd like to raise any questions, please use the questions pane in your dashboard to the right-hand side of your screen. Let's first of all look at the importance of test automation for E1. Now, there are many events that trigger the need for testing, such as when you configure your E1 system, when you make changes to any business process, when you perform a major upgrade, or even implement new electronic software updates, or ESUs as they're more commonly known, whether they're simple enhancements or critical ESUs. A trigger event may be when you acquire businesses, so you need to incorporate them into your way of doing things, or divest businesses and need to remove them from your system. It may be when you perform a code current event or undertake a periodic disaster recovery test. Whatever the trigger, testing is an ever-present and increasingly important part of life in your E1 system. Now, the diagram on your screen now is based on a study by Carnegie Mellon University, and it shows the fault stream analysis of typical fault injection rates during the software development lifecycle and the associated costs of conformance or fault finding and fixing. The Carnegie Mellon University study shows that 56% of faults or defects are found in the test environment, whether it be functional, system, or end-user acceptance testing, and 5% are found in production. Finding and fixing faults at this stage is clearly expensive, and prohibitively so when that is combined with the current test approaches adopted by most JD Edwards users, which is a manual test approach, thus making delivering IT effectiveness and efficiency a very difficult challenge. The trend, therefore, is towards increasing efficiency and improving effectiveness of the software development process by finding defects earlier in the software lifecycle, allowing businesses to add more functionality sooner, by testing more often with the same or less effort and less resource, and by improving the release delivery process. Now, it's at the functional testing stage where the cost of fault detection starts to become expensive. That is where we'll be focusing our attention today. Now, test automation will become even more important following the announcements that Oracle made at the recent Collaborate event in Las Vegas. And the next few slides are ones that Oracle have provided to us to share with you. Now, Oracle are adopting a new ongoing release model for the JD Edwards EnterpriseOne product line. New product innovation and features being delivered as updates, smaller, digestible chunks that are easier to manage and consume. Customers do not need to wait several years before these new capabilities can be packaged and delivered through a major release. You can incrementally add these new capabilities as you need them, when you need them, and have the required bandwidth to adopt them. All this choice and control comes without the need to embark on costly, disruptive upgrades. Oracle and DWS provide the required tools to evaluate business needs as well as to plan, manage, and execute these update cycles. And to ensure that the customers continue to get a positive return on their investments for a long time to come, JD Edwards EnterpriseOne 9.2 release will be on Premier support at least until October 2025, and an additional 3 years on extended support until October 2028. And as Oracle releases new features, they will review these updates annually and extend them out further based on market conditions. All that agile release model sounds great, but it does need you all to adopt a new mindset towards your business systems. In the new model, you do not think of release number and support timelines. You think of business value and features. How can my ERP system help me reduce cost, streamline efficiencies, and capture new market opportunity? And without having to wait several years before a so-called new version of the software will allow you to do that. You're empowered to do it now or whenever your business demands it. With JD Edwards, you always have the choice, and you are in control. So let's look at the value of test automation and look at some of the return on investment potentials. Now, I'm going to share with you some real-life customer scenarios where we have calculated the realistic likely savings they should make from implementing effective test management and automation solutions. In the return on investment calculations here, we have assumed that all testing currently is performed internally. Now, the first customer scenario we have is a fairly small JD Edwards user. They just have 200 EnterpriseOne users. Their 3-year usage profile is to perform a major version upgrade in the first year with smaller code current events or custom developments in years 2 and 3. Over a 3-year period, this amounted to some 396 days spent testing. Now, we're making a very conservative assumption that the DWS Dimension Focus product, that's one of the products involved here, will identify that 25% of their system actually needs to be tested instead of the 100% that they would otherwise have to have had to test without the DWS solutions. Do bear in mind, though, that on some ESUs we've analyzed, only 11% in one case required testing and 6% in another case. So we are being ultra conservative here by still assuming that 25% of your system will require to be tested. And we estimate that after allowing for expenditure on DWS software license fees, this customer would save about $61,500 over the 3-year period. The second customer we're going to look at is a much larger customer. They've got 1,100 JD Edwards users and they have 20 testers. Again, they have a very similar profile with a major upgrade in the first year and code current or custom development being released in years 2 and 3. And over a 3-year period, they spend close to 3,000 man-days testing. And their savings in manpower costs will amount to almost $1 million over that 3-year period. And these are the savings by implementing test automation solutions. In the third customer scenario, this is a much larger customer again. It has 2,500 JD Edwards users and 20 testers. Now, they have a much more complex system, and their 3-year profile includes having a major upgrade that actually takes much longer than 1 year to complete. It spreads well into the 2nd year, and that increases their testing burden. And we estimate that some 7,100 days of testing is required over the 3-year period. And we estimate that this customer will save in the region of $1.8 million over the 3-year period. Now, as you can see, the more times you spend testing and the more days you spend testing in your environment, the greater the returns you are likely to achieve from using test automation solutions like the ones provided by DWS. Even if you only have a small number of JD Edwards users and a small number of testers, you should get a very healthy return on your investment, in addition to having a more thorough and more accurate testing, which will result in a more reliable E1 system, happier users, and reduced support loading on your IT team. Now, we've used profiles where people have undergone a major upgrade in the first year and then experience much lower levels of upgrades with concurrent events or custom developments being released to production. But think for a moment about 9.2 and Oracle's plans for continuous delivery of new functionality, and think about the impact that will have on your testing requirements. Now, whilst it will remove the need for major upgrades, it will significantly increase the need for regular testing, which in turn will increase the return on investment you can realize from implementing effective test automation. But to do so, you do need to consider your specific environment, and in particular, your operating landscape and your approach to managing and maintaining your E1 system. And I'll spend the next few minutes explaining exactly what we mean by this. Looking at your landscape. Now, when planning your software testing, you do need to take into consideration your specific situation, or what we call your landscape. You need to think about how many test scripts you need to develop and how detailed they need to be. You need to plan for any differences in your business processes or legislation requirements in the different countries or regions in which you operate. How many instances of E1 do you have that need to be tested? Is an upgrade actually a good opportunity to reduce the number of instances you support to simplify your ongoing support requirements, for example? How many people do you want to involve in creating and running tests? And how many of these are super users or business analysts that need to be involved? As an absolute minimum, though, you need to understand just how many testers you have and how many business processes or scenarios or scripts are likely to be required. Okay, so we've shown you some sample return on investment calculations based on a number of real-life customers. But your approach to managing your E1 system will probably be different. You'll have different factors that will trigger a change event. They will be of different sizes due to a number of factors, such as the number of users that you have, the number of DWS modules you have, how many modifications you've made, how agile your organization needs or wants to be. These factors will determine the frequency with which you make small uplifts into your production environment versus major version upgrades. And of course, once you've moved to 9.2, hopefully the major version upgrades will be a thing of the past. But it is worth noting that from 9.2, how a company chooses to evolve their implementation of E1 will dramatically influence the amount of functional testing that they will be doing. And to give you some examples, with the old school approach, you might perform weekly package builds, occasionally apply selective ESUs that have some relevant new or changed functionality, or maybe even bug fixes. Or you may even get around issues by implementing modifications to the standard code. Typically, you may then undertake a major version upgrade every 3 to 5 years, perhaps even longer gaps between the major upgrades. But with the code current or constant updates approach now being introduced by Oracle, your whole approach may change significantly. And whilst I say that your approach may change, your very business survival depends on your agility and your ability to adapt. In the words of Charles Darwin, it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is the most adaptable to change, and that is very relevant to business. So in order to calculate the likely return on investment that you should expect to achieve, we need to model your approach to managing and maintaining your E1 system. Now, when we are modeling your approach, we need to take into consideration the type of activities or events you are likely to undertake in any given year. Events such as weekly modifications or package builds, quarterly events such as ESUs, or a major event that may impact your whole system, such as a major version upgrade. Of course, but for most people, if you are going through a major upgrade, that will take priority over everything else that you would do that year on your system. Now, again, in the kind of percentages impacts that we're showing on the screen here, we've been ultra cautious and conservative with these estimates. In reality, ESUs may only impact 5 or 10% of your system. So the key questions that you need to consider regarding your approach actually relate to how you support E1 and what change events will trigger the need to test your system, bearing in mind the new constant delivery approach being delivered by Oracle. In theory, there will be no more need for major upgrades, which is scenario 3. But potentially there will be quarterly ESUs and weekly releases to production. What will your profile be like? Now, it is important to understand here that 9.2 really is a game changer for JD Edwards because it is built from the ground up with a digital enterprise in mind. Since go live, 9.2 has benefited from a wide range of enhancements. Oracle has established a pattern of releasing not just small updates, but some strategic enhancements and in cases entirely new modules. In fact, there have been over 160 product enhancements, including Internet of Things Orchestrator, Customization Workbench, Project Forecasting, Internet of Things Studio, and enhanced mobile applications, and many, many more. The digital enterprise is one that embraces the pervasive use of digital technologies that are both location and device independent. More than that, it is a fundamental change in business process and policy, a change in what we do and how we do it. It is about digitizing your operations, not just for power users, but for everyone, including your partners and customers. It's about digitizing process, collecting more data so you can make better decisions and become more agile. Mobile working has become a way of life for most organizations. The JD Edwards mobile value proposition has been a core component of recent releases, bringing the power of JD Edwards to the point of process and extending functionality to field-based employees. Anywhere, anytime access has put everything from digital data capture to role and location-based applications at the fingertips of mobile and remote workers, whether they are leveraging corporately owned devices or bringing their own. JD Edwards' concepts of low-code and no-code supports the digital enterprise by delivering flexible cross-application integration, enabling organizations to run their business the way they want. Less disruptive change events are likely to lead to greater levels of adoption, have less impact on IT resource, and simplify the upgrade process. They're also likely to require less user training. By getting current and staying current, digital enterprises can make better and faster decisions. But the key messages you need to understand from the Oracle announcements are that you need to get current and stay current, as there are no more major version upgrades planned unless there's something quite spectacular that requires Oracle to change its mind. So future E1 projects on 9.2 will tend to be smaller, faster, and smarter, making your organization more agile. And absolutely critical to your success will be how well you can deploy an effective test automation solution. Now let's explore for a moment how a good test automation solution, such as those provided by DWS, can play a significant role in enabling you to adopt the new approach of smaller, faster, smarter projects. Let us look first, though, at a manual approach that many organizations still adopt for E1. Now you've got a project where you may be planning to apply one or more ESUs to your E1 system, or you may be making modifications to the standard code. In order to test these changes, you need to plan and prepare your test scripts. You must then manually run through the whole process, recording what you do and documenting the correct results. When you find any bugs, these need to be fixed by your developers. Once the bugs have been fixed, you need to rerun the test manually again, which takes the same amount of time as before, maybe a little longer, as you may need to check and compare the results you are seeing. You may have to repeat this process several times until the software is clean. Now, it's also worth understanding when you're going through this repetitive process of having to testing and retesting your code, is that each time you're having to go back to the users and asking them to test again, they will typically be less diligent in their testing. They won't pay such careful attention to the results coming through. So you still stand the risk that errors will creep through into production. Now, some weeks or months later, you may make some more mods or apply another ESU. Again, you need to manually create or recreate your scripts, document them and the expected results, and report any bugs to be fixed. Once fixed, you then have to manually rerun those tests and check the results, and so it goes on, time and time again. Let us now show you how it works using a good test automation. I've got a problem with automation today. Good test automation solution. SwifTest from DWS is integrated with E1, and you have your SwifTest and E1 applications open side by side on your screen. SwifTest guides you through your options through any business process, and it enables you to quickly and error-free create your test scenarios. Now, at this stage, it's fair to say there are not significant time savings to be realized, but as SwifTest keeps track of what the user does and it stores results, you don't actually need to spend time documenting your tests. Once any bugs have been fixed, you just resubmit the appropriate test or test to the test queue to run automatically. Even if you do need to make changes to your test scenarios or scripts, editing your test is a very quick and easy process. So every time you have to go through this retesting process, you are saving close to 100% of the equivalent manual process. So your savings over time really start to mount up. And so it goes on. Every time you make mods or apply ESUs, saving you time every step of the way, again and again and again. So the estimates that DWS comes up with regarding the potential to reduce your overall testing effort through a combination of our test planning and management solution and test automation solutions actually quite conservatively easily add up to 85% of savings in your man days and costs. But it's important to understand that the value is not just about reducing the cost of testing. It's not just about reducing the manpower. By adopting an effective test automation solution like those from DWS, you remove the major barrier to adopting a code current approach as envisaged and promoted by Oracle. And as such, you can realize operational efficiency gains through earlier adoption of new technologies and functionality released by Oracle. You can realize improved agility and competitiveness, again partly through earlier adoption of new technologies and functionality, but also by being able to release your own specific modifications sooner. And that can help you to be faster to market with new capabilities and help you maintain your reputation as a leader in your particular market. Being able to test things effectively may also mitigate any risks from releasing errors into your production. And it also helps you to respond quickly to any unexpected moves from your competitors. There's a report called the World Quality Report, and the most recent one was produced 2016/17. This report looks at the IT expenditure on quality assurance and testing. And as you can see from the graphic, which goes from right to left, it's clear that testing is consuming an increasing amount of IT budget. Last year, for example, businesses spent 31% of their IT budget on testing, and that is set to increase. We've even heard from some customers that testing accounts in their E1 upgrade projects for 65% of the total effort. So this is clearly an everyday problem that is worth solving. So if we can help you cut your testing effort and cost by 85%, that should be of interest to you. Would you agree? And if we can make it easier for you to introduce modifications, to apply ESUs, perform upgrades, that should also be of interest to you, yeah? And if we can help you to reduce your overall total cost of ownership whilst helping you realize better value from your E1 asset and your ongoing investments, we believe that should also be of interest to you. So how can you go about realizing the value of test automation? Well, in order to understand how and where test automation will add value to your organization, you need to understand what are your testing bottlenecks. What is holding you back from benefiting from Oracle's continuous delivery of new functionality? Is it knowing what to test that's holding you back? Is it the ability to plan and manage your tests? Or is it the ability to create scripts and to edit them? Are they the issues that's holding you back? Is it the availability of expensive and scarce specialist test engineers and programmers? Or is it the amount of time and effort required to document what testing is required and what the results should look like? Or is it the time required to actually do the testing and retesting and retesting? Whatever it is, you need to remove your testing bottlenecks and be smarter with how you manage your E1 testing. I would suggest that you need to implement a smart and effective test automation solution. In particular, you need to find ways of improving the productivity and effectiveness of your test users. A key part of this will focus on reducing test script creation and edit time. So let us look at these aspects in a little bit more detail. When it comes to increasing test user productivity, there are really 6 key steps to increasing the test user productivity. And all of these either reduce the effort required or improve the effectiveness of what they're actually doing. Firstly, you need to simplify the whole test planning process and how you manage your testing. You then need to be able to identify just what needs testing and what does not, so you can focus your effort just in those areas that are affected by the ESU or other changes that you're making to your system. It is important to simplify your script creation and editing so you can reduce the time and effort involved. And if you're going to really benefit from Oracle's continual release program, you absolutely must stop relying on manual testing. It is too time consuming and is too prone to errors. You should also not use an old-fashioned record and playback approach to testing. This was the original approach to test automation, but it's very difficult to get any return on your investment with this approach. At any time you need to make a change to any test scenario, you need to repeat the whole test setup and running. This is just too time-consuming. Finally, you need to make effective use of the best test automation tools, preferably ones that are designed specifically for Edwards EnterpriseOne, to reduce your effort and maximize your efficiency and effectiveness. Now, looking at the time that you spend on creating and editing scripts, there are 5 key steps to reducing the amount of effort required. Firstly, you need to be able to create accurate and easy to edit test scenarios from within E1 and have them created automatically, so you remove the potential for errors and you enable any changes to be made quickly and simply on the screen. Secondly, you need to remove the need to manually document your scripts by having them created and stored for use automatically. Third, you need to stop using any system that requires specialist script programming skills so end users can define their own tests. This will remove any dependence on scarce and expensive test engineers, which are so often the bottleneck when it comes to functional testing. And you need to be able to simply edit those tests rather than have to reprogram a script or re-record a whole script from scratch. Now, I'm sure it will come as no surprise to you to learn that DWS has a solution that has been designed specifically to address all these points. Dimension SwifTest has been designed specifically and uniquely as a test automation solution specifically for Edwards EnterpriseOne. When combined with our test planning and management solution, Dimension Focus, DWS has everything you need to implement an effective and smart test management and automation solution. These products reside in what's called the Dimension Hub Cloud, which is a secure cloud repository and the gateway to our testing solutions. It's worth just summarizing very quickly what are some of the benefits of Dimension SwifTest. And I'm not going to go into any product detail in today's session because this is not a product presentation. This is all about how you can get value out of test automation. But it's worth understanding some of the key things that help you to realize quite a spectacular return on your test automation investments. The key things with SwifTest is that it's been designed for end users to be able to create their own test scenarios. There are no need for specialist staff, no need for expensive and scarce test engineers or specialist script programmers. It's very easy to set up and edit the test scripts because you're doing it inside E1. Whatever you can do in E1 can be tracked by SwifTest. And if you need to make a change to your script, it's very simple to edit things just like editing a Word document. Because of that, there's much less scope for errors, so it saves you a lot of time in having to actually test your testing scripts, because most scripts are actual programs in their own right, so they've still got to be tested. That's very, very quick and easy with SwifTest. The way it actually works, it's very easy for you to resubmit your tests into the test queues. So if a test has failed, you have to rerun it. You don't have to manually go through the whole process again. You just resubmit the test or tests that are required into the queue and let them go unattended to be run. It's very easy to build new test scenarios and business processes using this solution because, again, it is built inside EnterpriseOne, and whatever you can do in EnterpriseOne, you can do in SwifTest. And we have a dynamic data store for what's called soft data. So it's very easy to actually be able to change your data to be able to test different responses to different situations within the same test process or test scenario. So just a few highlights there of what SwifTest can do for you. So let's move on now to the final leg of today's session. We'll be looking at how you can go about preparing a business case for E1 test automation. Now, clearly, we're not going to be able to tell you today what your specific business case will be because we don't know your situation. But I've been talking about different aspects and different things you need to consider when it comes to test automation. But the key thing is, what are the things you need to think about so that you can estimate with confidence just how much you will save? And it's important for you to review how the test automation solution will improve your productivity and improve your effectiveness. Looking at productivity first of all, now during the startup or adoption phase, of course, you're going to incur costs associated with building a catalog of reusable scripts or scenarios. At the same time, though, you'll benefit significantly because invariably each of these scripts is likely to be run multiple times during a project, so there will be hard financial savings that can be calculated here. On the effectiveness side, a system that is well tested is more likely to be reliable and hence more available, which will lead to improved productivity for your users. Your system is less likely to incur problems, and when problems are incurred, those problems are likely to be fixed the first time, so there will be important soft financial savings and benefits for the business too. Now, at DWS, we've been working very hard on developing a sophisticated model that analyzes your situation, your landscape, and your approach to managing your E1 system. And we take into consideration the hourly cost of each person involved in testing, the length of time taken to perform tests manually together with retesting cycles. And we allow for year-on-year growth in the number of test scripts available, the percentage of tests in a project that may need to be changed, and much, much more. We're on something like version 20 of our ROI calculator. So we've been working on this for quite some time and evolving it as we get more good feedback from our customers. Now, to help you to calculate the real value of test automation to your specific organization, we run company-specific workshops where we help you to understand how functional test automation actually adds value. We help you to describe the functional testing landscape within your company and how it's different from other organizations. We help you to describe your specific approach to maintaining JD Edwards, what sort of events trigger a testing scenario. And we help you to prepare and present a credible return on investment summary. Now, in these workshops, we have an agenda that is roughly similar to the one you have on the screen now, where we actually look at your particular background, where you're coming from, what sort of environment you operate within, and try to identify where there are opportunities for you to make savings. So where is the value? We try to identify what types of things are important to you. And what's important to you may not be important to another customer, and what is important to them may not be important to you. So we need to understand the specific environment and the specific things that are going to be relevant for you. We'll take you through some of the ROI examples that we've worked on, and we'll explain how our model works, because it is quite sophisticated. And once we've done that, to provide the background information, we'll spend the bulk of the time as a proper workshop looking at your specific situation, putting all the numbers through our model to come up with a report that you can actually submit to your management to help your case. So let us summarize what we've actually covered today. I've kind of tried to introduce to the backdrop as to the things that are changing within EnterpriseOne so that you understand why test automation is becoming increasingly important for EnterpriseOne customers. We shared with you some real-life customer return on investment scenarios to help you understand just what the potential is for savings by using test automation versus manual testing approaches that the majority of EnterpriseOne customers today still use. We tried to introduce to you some of the things that you need to be thinking about so that you can actually realize value in your particular environment, and explain how we can actually go about helping you to prepare a business case for test automation. Now, Oracle's approach to delivering new functionality to E1 and the increasing importance of digital transformation and the business need for greater agility is going to drive you towards a larger number of smaller projects that need to be implemented faster and smarter. And the test automation solutions available from DWS have been developed specifically for EnterpriseOne, and they really do deliver truly amazing return on investment. So let's talk. Let's talk about your particular landscape. Let's talk about your approach to managing your EnterpriseOne environment. And let's talk about your return on investment and help you talk about your business case. So with that, I would like to open up the floor to general questions from all attendees. And as I mentioned before, if you would like to raise a question on anything that we've covered today, then you'll see in the dashboard to the right-hand side of your screen that there is a questions box towards the bottom there. Please feel free to type your questions in there, and Pat will do his best to provide the answers that you're looking for. So
yes, hello everyone. Can you hear me, David?
Yes, loud and clear, Pat.
Okay, good.
Okay, we've got one question coming through about these workshops. Asking, can you tell us more about the workshop, like how long do they take and who should be involved, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, our idea is to get some information from anybody who's interested in understanding the value of test automation, in advance of organizing anything. And then we'll probably do sort of a half hour, 45 minutes, with a very small group. And as a result of that half hour, 45 minutes, we'll decide whether or not we want to open the session, the kind of conversation up to a wider audience. And we'll agree who needs to be involved and how much time we want to dedicate to the session. Because I think everybody's circumstances are going to be different, and everybody's thoughts on the business case in their own company probably going to be a little bit different still. That's what we've seen so far.
Okay, and there was a follow-up question on that from the same person. Is there any charge for these workshops?
No, not at all. No, we're keen to have a conversation about test automation, and as part of the whole exercise, I'm sure people will want to be seeing the software and what have you. And there's different ways we can cover that. I mean, we've got a YouTube channel with a number of videos. If anybody wants to go and visit that, just let us know and we can direct you to that. Those are accessible via our website as well. And we're of course we're happy to set up sessions to demonstrate the software and present and demonstrate the software to genuine prospects as well.
Okay, great. And we've got a good question from Karana, not specifically on today's topic, but clearly associated with it. Does the product offer a performance and load test module?
The short answer is no, not today. Later this year, we will be releasing a third product in our test portfolio, a product that we're going to call Dimension Load Test. And Load Test will build on the capabilities of SwifTest and give people a genuine JD Edwards EnterpriseOne specific load test capability. That product it's been developed and it's in alpha testing right now, and we'll be doing some beta tests with a couple of customers that have already been identified in the fall. So we're looking forward to releasing a load test product later this year.
Okay, great. I hope that's going to be helpful for you, Corona. And a question here from John. Can I start automated testing before I get to 9.2?
Yes, you can. In fact, we're encouraging everybody to start as soon as possible. There's no project, that you run from today, that wouldn't benefit from more rigorous and structured approaches to testing. And our test tools, the SwifTest product itself that does the automation, works on JD Edwards tools release 9.1.2 and above. So as long as you're on tools release 9.1.2, you can start using SwifTest. So that comes into play, from 9.0. So customer can be on release 9.0 with tools release 9.1.2, and they can start writing scripts and building a catalog of scripts, that will serve them well for years and years to come.
Okay, thank you. Now, a number of the questions that are coming through are quite specific to individual environments, so I suggest we take those questions offline and get people to respond to those. So I'd like to thank those people that have raised questions so far, and that's been very, very helpful. So that brings us to the end of our time together today. I hope you've all found that a useful session. When you leave today, you will be directed to a short feedback survey where we do ask your feedback on what we talked about today, what you would like to see in the future. And we do encourage everybody to please complete that feedback survey. It does only take 1 minute, so it doesn't take much of your time. And it does help us to make sure that what we're doing in these webinars is what people actually want us to cover. So with that, I'd like to thank you all very much for attending. Do complete the surveys, and goodbye.